Welcome back to another YouTube human design reading. This reading is honestly an honor to be doing. It is for a dear friend, Sophia, who is currently being challenged by having breast cancer. And she is, of course, working with doctors and the medical realm alongside holistic treatments and modalities in order to help her move into homeostasis so that her body can naturally heal. What do I mean with homeostasis? So we've got 7 energetic layers. We've got our emotional, our astral plane, our spiritual plane, our mental plane, all of these different layers of us. And when those start to decondition, when those start to be more in flow, we're able to be more centered. And when we're centered, our body is able to then move into its natural blueprint of being able to heal itself. So let's bring up Sophia's chart because there are a couple of different things that I want to discuss when it comes to healing. And I'll also be using my knowledge of all the different modalities that I've ever studied to be able to facilitate this reading, because human design alone is not going to be the thing that will help her through the deconditioning. It's going to be the tool that can show us where the deconditioning may need to happen, but it's not necessarily the tool that will do the deconditioning. So just to caveat with what I will be talking about, it blends a lot of different things. Sophia is newer to human design, so I'm really going to be speaking about human design in a more easy to understand way in this reading, just so that not only will she be able to understand herself, but other people will also be able to support her. So in the intake process, when I was discussing this chart reading with her, she wants to know how she can use her human design information to help her heal. But more than that, she wants to be able to share this video with family members so that they know how to best support her. And there are a couple of very key elements that I'll be discussing in this chart that will help us do exactly that. So let's firstly start with being a manifesting generator, because when it comes to cancer, cancer is considered an autoimmune disease. And a lot of the time, manifesting generators are susceptible to autoimmune diseases because they don't know how to operate with their energy correctly. And the world is not designed for people to be multitasking and to have all of these different passions and to be an authority and things like this. So a lot of the time, manifesting generators come very conditioned in how they should be or have to be living, and they don't know how to express their power correctly for their design. When we talk about a manifesting generator, the thing that makes them unique is that they've got a throat center connected to a motorized center. And Sophia, for you in particular, you have the channel of charisma, which means you are the purest type of manifesting generator that we have in the system. And so I'm wondering, do you trust what comes out of your mouth when you first speak? Yes or no? Because this is a channel that is very in the moment of, if I ask you a question like, do you like pears? And you say, oh, yes, or no, I don't know where that came from. And if you then start to question it, that's when you move into logic as opposed to just trusting your body-based intelligence. So the first thing when it comes to healing is to really start to trust your authority, and you also have an emotional authority, which makes it a little bit different. So I would love to know how your relationship with your body has been growing up, because with a sacral definition, if you've had moments in your life where you have suppressed your creativity, you've suppressed your appetite by either overeating or undereating. And as we know, food is very nourishing to our body. Food is very important in our healing journey. And what we don't realize is that when we overeat or undereat and don't recognize our body's basic cues for hunger, we suppress our sacral response. And so when we start to lose trust with ourselves, that is one way that we then cannot express our power into the world. And with the chart configuration that you have, intuitively, I feel that you have dimmed down your life, where you have held on to words, where you have held on to things, and it's built up in your heart space. Now, your heart space, your heart chakra is obviously what is being affected with breast cancer, because this is the area where that all lies. Now, what's really interesting for me, just looking at your chart, is that you've got two undefined centers in your heart space, which is your identity center and your ego center. And because those are undefined, it means that you have been conditioned by the world around you in terms of how you should be, who you should be, and you've probably grown up believing that you need to have one direction of path and way of being all the time, but that's not correct for you. You're here to gain wisdom in who you are and your pathway in life, and you're going to be somebody that changes your mind often, that changes your beliefs often, and following your heart, because that's the thing, that's the irony of your chart, is that you are somebody that is so naturally passionate and talented, and you have natural things that are within you that I don't think you're quite recognizing right now, because if you were, you would be able to follow your passions, follow your talents, and not worry about having to have one thing. Being a manifesting generator, your superpower is that you are multifaceted, that you will have so many different things that you want to do. And you're not going to be fulfilled in life by only focusing on one thing. And I'm wondering if you've ever been told that you have to focus on one thing, if you've ever been told that you need to have more like focus in a career choice or things like that. With saying that, you are a manifesting generator that will have a little bit more focus and less trial and error than some other manifesting generators that I've worked with. So for you, you might not resonate fully with everything that is written about manifesting generators, because yes, you have a lot of energy, but you also love tranquil spaces, serenity, and this is going to be a very important part of your healing. This is amplified in a couple of areas in your chart. So you've got the 2-4 profile line, you've got caves blending as your environment, you've got calm determination, and so this all alludes to there is a lot of energy that you have within you, and also you like to balance that out with calmness, with serenity, and things like that. So with that, I want to talk a little bit more about the throat and how you tend to sometimes probably electrocuting yourself. So as a manifesting generator, manifesting generators have the biggest energy needs out of all of the human design types. So if we're having to compare it to different types of planes, you would be the Concorde. You would be the Concorde because you can get to the destination the fastest. But the reason why they stop the Concorde is because they need so much fuel in order to fly that distance in that amount of time. And so your body works in the same way. You need to fuel your body so that it can fly the distance, and know that you've got greater energy needs than most others. Now, when it comes to food, you have to be really excited about what you are eating. And I know that some of the different things that you're trying are fasting, which actually does work very well for your design type. It wouldn't work well for other designs like a projector, but for you, it would work really, really well, because you get to then decide when you want to eat and how much you want to eat. And that is what will really help a manifesting generator get into their healing cycle. Because when it comes to healing, we have to consider all things. It's not just one line of thought. It's environmental, it's emotional, it's your food intake, it's your environment of where you live. It's all of those different things are really going to pay patronage to how you experience healing. So that's just one kind of caveat, well, not one face when it comes to the healing process, is how your food would be digested in accordance to your energy type. But when we're talking about food, we also look at determination. And determination is how you digest both information and food in the world. Now, this is going to be very important because in your healing journey, you're going to be needing to take in information that will help your body heal, as well as food in a way that will help your body heal. Because if you're not taking food in the best possible way, maybe the healing process will be stagnated or even slowed down. So you have an internal system that is very high energy. It's vibrating all the time, and it's metabolizing things so quickly that when you're eating or taking in information, you actually need a very calm environment so that you're able to digest things effectively. Otherwise, nutrients are just going through your body before they've even been absorbed. And this will be really pivotal when it comes to taking in supplements or vitamins or anything like that. So the best thing for you to do is to try and eat alone without any stimulation, no music, no screens, just a very calming environment. For you, I would even go one step further because you have caves as your environment. And this is a little bit of a deeper part of human design. And I want to just discuss that in a bit. But having a candle, dimming things down, I would really also look into circadian rhythms. So if you're eating at night, how can you start to simulate that environment where your body is knowing that bedtime is coming, and how can you do that with maybe red lighting or infrared lights, things like that, no bright, harsh lights, to help your body know that it's time to calm down. That will increase melatonin to help sleep production, things like that. So for you, it's more about the environments in which you take in your food as opposed to necessarily what you are eating. Obviously, what we all eat is very important. Nobody will ever recommend eating McDonald's every single day. But for you, it's more about the environment. How can you control those environments? And even when it's taking in new information or going through different therapies that you might be going through, how can you just be so calm? How can you try and be isolated in your space? And this brings me to my next point. You like things in isolation, but you also need community. And you've got the channel of mating, which is a really interesting channel because you are going to be very discerning with who you let into your life and who you let into your space. But when you decide on who it is that you want to bring into your space, let them in, let them help you. And this is going to touch on how people get to support you. You have a single definition in your chart, which means you are very independent. You are very self-sufficient in who you are. And so you don't need anybody to help you. And this can feel very like, I want to say intimidating. Intimidating is not necessarily the right word, but other people looking in can sometimes feel pushed out because you are so self-sufficient in who you are. It's how you're designed to be, and it's not a bad or good thing. It's just how you're designed to be. In your case, though, you've got the 2-4 profile line. So there are going to be times where you just want to hide away from the world, go into your cave, and that's when your energy needs to be replenished. That's when you need to spend some time alone, especially with gate 40. You'll need to just really replenish your energy. But once your energy is replenished, you're going to need community. You're going to need connections. You're going to need people. And so I'm wondering as well if there's any sort of guilt that there are times where you feel like you need people, but then there are also times where you shut them out. And so it's going to be like this energy of, I feel guilty because I didn't need them last week and I didn't want them around, but now I do need them. How do I ask them? And so just being able to relay this information will also help you authentically express into the world what it is that you need from others. And having a defined solar plexus means that confrontation is something that is going to come up for you, and it's not always easy for you to do. And also, you've got a completely undefined root center. So you're always going to feel that there's pressure, that you're running out of time. And I wouldn't be surprised right now if you feel that everything in your life is coming at you and you feel like you're running out of time. So how can you put in place healthy coping mechanisms to know that you've got today and to know that you're not running out of time? You've got a undefined ego sensor. So there is probably a lot of you trying to still prove yourself, prove your lovability, prove your direction, prove your purpose, but you're here to gain wisdom. You're not going to have consistent access to who you are and what you're meant to be doing and all of these different things. This is what your earth school is helping you learn in. So I want to go back to more of the basics of how living in alignment with your chart will help you eat in a calm environment, because while those things are definitely going to help catalyze the healing process, it's really important to first be living in alignment with your human design strategy and authority. And I know that living in alignment with your strategy and authority can be one of the basic things that we talk about, but it really is so pivotal. And something that Ra who speaks about often is that it takes 2 years to live fully in alignment with your strategy and authority. And from being in my experiment now for just over 5 years, I can really see how that is true. And he then says it takes 7 years to fully decondition. And I find this part really interesting that I'm going to impart with you as well, because I believe that is going to change something at a cellular level for you. But essentially, the reason it takes 7 years to decondition is because it takes 7 years for our cells in our body to also regenerate themselves. So when we're doing limiting belief work, when we're healing emotional trauma, when we're doing all of those things, we are changing the cellular structure of our bodies. But sometimes that trauma runs so deep that it needs that 7-year cycle for those cells to regenerate. Now, not every single cell has an exact timeline of 7 years. These are just general figures, but I can really see how it takes 7 years to decondition, because I've been doing healing work myself now for just over 7 years. And my 7-year cycle, there was a lot that came up to the forefront. And how I've experienced it is, if you've ever done a parasite detox or a cleanse, I know I have before, and parasites thrive off of eating sugar. Now, I'm not somebody that is a huge lover of sweet stuff, but obviously I'll have a chocolate here and there. And when I've done a parasite detox, on day 5, when the parasites are starting to die off, I'm ravenous for every sweet thing in creation. And that's because those cells are like starving, and they frantic now to get that in them. And this is what the limiting belief work will also do. As they're starting to change and regenerate, it feels like you've taken this massive step backwards, because all of those traumas are starting to come up, and all of these things and experiences and these triggers that you thought you had healed are starting to come up again at the end of that 7-year cycle. So I just wanted to say that information, because I think it's going to help you understand the healing process. And, I do believe that when we start to heal our emotional things, we will start to see the world in a very different light. And this is also going to help with your healing process. So talking about the healing process, things that I've also looked at in your chart are your gene keys, specifically your radiant sphere. So your radiant sphere is your unconscious sun sign. And if you think about the sun, it's something that radiates out energy. It's something that illuminates things. And your radiant sphere is here to show you how you radiate health out into the world. And the shadow in your radiant sphere is going to show you where you will be blocking health. For you, you've got gate 55. And gate 55 is the spirit of abundance. And it feels like this energy feels like you will always be supported no matter what. It's a really beautiful, powerful gate. It's a very individual gate as well, though. So again, there's that connection back to self. Now, in the lowest frequency of this gate lives victimization. So let's look at what victimization means in terms of the human design and the gene key system, because when we dive deeper into this work, it's not always as it seems, although with victimization, you can kind of gauge what it means. But when you're living in the lower expression of gate 55, essentially you'll find yourself either complaining or blaming. And when we do this, we take our power outside of ourselves and we place it into something else. And that's why we blame or complain about things. And it stems from deep-seated anger. So in your chart, this is an amplified theme. I would really start to assess what has made you so angry in life, where you haven't been able to express it. And so there might even be more internal complaining or blaming. And this could even look like complaining or blaming yourself for something. And until you find freedom within, your healing isn't going to, take that next step. Freedom is something that you will really be gifted in when you embrace being the victim. And so we embrace being the victim of our lives by giving that version of ourselves so much love and really seeing her in what made her angry in the first place. And when we can heal that, so much is going to come to light. Something else I've intuitively been very drawn to in your chart is your placement of gate 40, which is in your conscious moon. And what I feel from looking at your chart and also just energetically connecting in with you is that you're feeling burnt out. Burnout for you is not about doing too much. It's actually about not doing enough of the things that bring you joy and bring you satisfaction. And so it feels like there's this lackluster in the sacral energy region because you're feeling so depleted and you're not living life. Gate 40 is here to be, it's your core wound, and it's here to show you how to have balance and resolve in your life, but it's going to come up as a shadow of exhaustion. And often when we do feel exhausted in life, we think that we need to rest. And yes, rest is important. It absolutely is important to have our energy needs met. But I think that you're needing to have a bit more of a variety of experiences in your life, which is going to help kickstart that manifesting generator energy off throughout your whole being. Manifesting generators do like doing many different things. And yes, you will have moments of retreating, which we spoke about with like that hermit line of, I need to just recoup myself. And that's that 2-line energy of hiding away. But then it's that 4th line energy that will come out and need those different experiences, need those different connections, need all of these different things. Another thing that's really stood out to me is that you have a defined spleen center. And this is always interesting with health because people with defined spleens will really talk themselves out of not going to a doctor because they'll think that they're coping really well with things. And then when something is really serious, that's when they'll seek medical attention. And so what's interesting here is that I know obviously you're doing many different things to aid your healing holistically, which I obviously encourage. But for your chart specifically, medical intervention will also work really well. And I think that that's something that can give you that solace inside of, okay, medical intervention is really going to help me on this journey. And that's a really encouraging and just comforting thought I feel would really help you with that. So lastly, I just want to talk a little bit more about being an emotional authority and having the 659 emotional wave, because this is the 59-6 is known as the source wave, and it's essentially the emotional wave that gets triggered by somebody else coming into your auric field. And I can attest to this, that when people enter into your world, you've got a very deeply penetrating aura, and so you're able to get really close and intimate with a person very quickly because that's how you're designed to be. And so you're very discerning on who you let into your space, and you're really good at curating that. That's a gift. Don't ever lose that. And with this source wave, though, it can be a little bit erratic with emotions. So you can either find that you'll build up your emotions and swallow them down and then explode, or you'll find that you need to retreat one day or be in community another day. So it's a very interesting wave in that it doesn't have any rhythmic patterns to how it operates. And that's why when you come into contact with that other, you've got this penetrating aura, it's going to bring to the surface the emotions that you feel. And that's a really empowering thing because you make decisions with your emotions. And generally speaking, when I work with people that have an emotional authority, I've got one as well, so I deeply understand this. But hearing that you make decisions from your emotions versus your mind is generally new information because we always get told to logically think about things. And so when it comes to making decisions with your emotions, you're going to have to start the journey of understanding when you're in a peak of your emotional wave versus a low. And I always describe the emotional wave as Rapunzel from Tangled. And I don't know if you've watched the movie Tangled, but she runs around in this one scene going, this is the best day ever. Mother's going to kill me. This is amazing. Oh my word, what have I just done? And that's how an emotional wave works, right? Because you've got to ride out all of the different highs and lows of a decision to gain information to know if it's right or wrong for you. But there will come a time where there's just so much clarity in your body that you cannot change your mind for anything because it's just this moment of, I know I need to do this. So when that kicks into place, that's how you're going to make decisions. And the more you can start slowly but surely understanding your emotionality and making decisions from that place, again, the better your healing will become, because then you're trusting your body. And the more you can trust your body, the more you'll send the signal that I trust my body to heal too. And we trust our bodies when it starts making the correct decisions for us. And we've got this information now that you can use to help you make the correct decisions. So really trusting in, when is my emotional high at a peak? When is my emotional low at a low? And never making decisions from those moments. Because what happens is that often an emotional authority will go, oh, this is a great idea, I want to do it. And then they'll jump in and they'll regret it quite quickly, because you've said yes when it was an emotional high. And now you regret saying that yes because you have to follow through on something that you actually didn't want to do. Whereas when you have space and time to make a decision, you'll make the better decision, and then it will be the correct decision for you. So if you ever feel pressured into making a decision, and you will feel very pressured, because again, you'll feel like you're running out of time. You'll also feel like you have too many ideas, you're running out of time. So for you, just saying to people, thank you so much for this. It's really exciting to me right now. Can I have 5 minutes, or can I have a week, or can I have a month to just make a final decision, because this is a big decision for me. And the more you can do that, then what's going to happen is the universe is going to give you breadcrumbs, and the breadcrumbs will look like different things for you. But being a sacral being, which is a manifesting generator, you're going to see things come up for you on a continuous basis. And I really want you to pay attention to how your body feels in that moment. So do you feel expanded or contracted? Because being a manifesting generator, you get to respond to life. And whatever is like a fuck yes should be like a oh, yes moment. And you should feel expanded toward that. And whatever feels like a oh, this doesn't feel good, that's a hell no in your body. And what that means is that things are going to come up as information. Things that are coming up as information doesn't mean that it's necessarily a sign that you're on the right path. Sometimes those things that are coming up are just there to show you how your body feels in that moment, so that you can make a better decision, and then you get to feel about how your emotions feel in those moments. So the universe is going to now start to give you different breadcrumbs, and how you respond to those breadcrumbs is also going to help you move into more trust with your body. And this is a process. You have lived for all of your life believing that you move through life in a very particular way. And this is probably different information to how you get to move, and you get to try this on as an experiment now. And the more you experiment by responding to the universe, and what I always say to generators and manifesting generators is to see something come up 3 times before you make a decision. With a manifesting generator, I then always say to take the idea that you have in your mind and then visualize it through from start to finish. And if halfway through you see yourself getting bored or you veer off course, it's not the right thing for you. Always go to the end. And if you're at the end of a visualization and you see yourself doing whatever it is that you're visualizing, and you see yourself feeling satisfied from that, then it is the right thing. So how can you keep going to the end of a process to then know that you're on the correct path? And that's also going to help and aid your healing dramatically, because the more you can live in accordance to your strategy and your authority, the more the deeper things, like having a cave space, like having the calm space to eat in, are really going to help come to fruition and bloom and help you heal. The last thing I want to say is that a cave will be your healing space. So it will be very much you wanting to be in a space where you can see people coming in and out of the space, where you get to invite people, but you want people around you, and doing things to make you feel very comfortable. So lighting a candle, wearing comfortable clothes in this time where you are healing. How can you make yourself a beautiful nest to make it your cave that becomes your healing den? And that's going to really help you with creating an environment that will cultivate healing for you as well. So I know that this is quite a lot of different parts, but just to recap what we've spoken about: 1, start to understand your emotions. Start to understand when you're feeling a high of an emotion versus a low of an emotion, and wait for clarity before that decision needs to come through. When it comes to understanding a bit more about your energy needs, understand what food gets you really excited, because food is going to be very nourishing for you in this healing journey. And also playing around with fasting, which I know you're already doing, and it is energetically designed to work well for your body graph type. Not for everyone, but for you specifically. Understand that your intuition is the strongest part of your design. You've got an incredibly strong intuition. Don't override it with stories, though. Really tune into it, because otherwise you'll be overriding what your body needs. And right now, I truly believe that your body needs more variety in life to move it out of burnout, because adrenals and even like your thyroid, parathyroid, all of that sits in your throat center, that is all being affected in the way that I see you living in like the lower expressions of your design. And when we can get you into the higher expression of that part of your design, things are going to move more into homeostasis, which is that the body's way of naturally healing itself. And when you have more variety and you're feeling more satisfied, when you feel vibrant, you're going to start to see more things will be magnetized to you. And I would make it your goal every single day of, how can I feel more satisfied today? How can I bring more joy in my life today? And then allowing people to understand that there will be times where you just need to be by yourself in isolation. And then there's going to be times where you'll be calling them in for help, and being very clear that it's not for them to take offense if you do need time in isolation, because there will be a time where you do call for your community. And that is a duality and the paradox of being a 2-4 line, of being the caves blending, of being a manifesting generator. It's all of these push-pull energies. So I hope that that's given you a little bit more insight into your design and how you get to heal and use this information. And for those watching, if this has interested you, you want your own human design reading, make sure to click on the links below, and I would love to genuinely read your chart. I will see you in the next chart reading. Make sure to subscribe in order to receive all new notifications and updates of when the next chart reading will become available for you to watch.